How some overlooked dudes are changing the tune of the Warriors season and why some dudes may be on the way out with the way some of these emergent guys are playing. That's on today's show.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast.
What are they going to say now?
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the good word, everyone? Welcome to Locked On Warriors. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now the #1 sports podcast out there. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You're right in the middle of the action this season. Visit FanDuel.com to place your NFL bets all season long. On today's show, we're breaking down a Warriors win, 123-91 over the Chicago Bulls. We'll get into Jimmy Butler's fourth quarter, the overall play as Butler returns from injury tonight, what the Warriors were able to do with Draymond Green out there, and why Quinten Post is becoming an anchor to this defense. Yes, I said it. Quinten Post, he has been awesome. Pat Spencer continues spin sanity, and just overall, the outlook on the Warriors right now is they've switched things up. Jonathan Kuminga gets a DNP. Moses Moody gets the, I believe, second least minutes on the team out of players that were out there. And all of a sudden, the big three that I talked about is turning into the benched three. Although Brandin Podziemski got his minutes and led the team in scoring today. But let's get into this thing stanza by stanza. And it was the Warriors stepping on the pedal early. Best ball movement I think I've seen all season long. They were zipping it around. I don't know if that's a byproduct of Pat Spencer being out there, someone that's extremely selfish, that doesn't pick up his dribble, that just continues to move and it flows. But that starting lineup that the Warriors threw out there with Spencer, with Hield, with Quinten Post, with Will Richard, and with Jimmy Butler was phenomenal. Will Richard's one of those guys that kind of just, you forget that he's on the floor for a minute, and then he knocks down a couple deep threes like he did late in the game, and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot. Will Richard, he's already gone for 30, and he barely does anything offensively, but he knows how to play. He does his role. 24 minutes, 9 points, 4 rebounds for Will Richard, a plus 36, but Will Richard's not the lead to this game. Like I just said, kind of an aftermath in the starting lineup. He's someone that comes in there and is some glue, does his job. But the dudes from this one that we're focusing on, Jimmy Butler, 19 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. Quinten Post, 19 points, 4 rebounds. Pat Spencer, 12 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. Guy Santos, 6 points, 7 rebounds in his 20 minutes. De'Anthony Melton looked good in his 17 minutes with 13 points. Brandin Podziemski had 21 points. And then Moses Moody in his 19 minutes had 11 points in the game. But Warriors were zipping it around. They were shooting well early and often. Far too often this season, the Warriors cannot hit baskets. It's a difference maker in this game. I'm not some prophet by telling you that making shots is a recipe to winning games. And that's what the Warriors did. They hit 22 of them today. Off 27 assists, they hit 22 deep balls of their 47 attempts. Good for 47% in the contest. Post hit 5 of them. He was chucking them up all game. He was getting open look after open look. He's excellent in the pick and roll with Pat Spencer. But he hit 5 of them. Buddy Hield still has not been able to find his shot. There were 2 or 3 that I thought were going to lead to some runs, and he missed a bunch of them. He went 1 of 5 in the game. Warriors still have to figure that out with Buddy Hield. He's, I believe, around 30% from deep. He's at 31%, and shooting 20% today is going to lower that percentage below 30%. So Warriors need Buddy Hield to get back up closer to 40% if he's going to warrant 22 minutes with all these dudes that are emerging. And a lot of them provide size, which is a beautiful thing because the Warriors got on the glass today against Chicago and dominated off the window, 51-38. They owned that statistic. I guess we got to start off before we go too deep into the Warriors by saying that the Bulls, they suck right now. They got off to a great start. They beat the Pistons their first game of the season. I think they raced out to like 6-2, 7-2, and They have hit a lull, and they have not reacted well to some of their early season's losses. They are not good. Vucevic was owned once again by Post. He only had 9 points on 4-13. Kobe White started hot, but only went for 12 in the game. Bazelis, one of their bright spots, crammed it on Quinten Post's head. You'll see that one on SportsCenter. He had 16. But aside from that, Giddey had 18, but I thought he struggled in the game, had 4 turnovers. You kept their bench in check, and you whooped them. You defended hard. You beat them by 32 points, and all of a sudden, a road trip that looked like it was going to be hell early. I mean, you were down 20 points, 30-10 after the first quarter against Philadelphia. And you had games coming up against Cleveland that I had penciled in as a loss, and then a game against Chicago that was going to be difficult in a different time zone. And you salvaged this road trip to go 2-1, and you found new dudes in the process that are playing good basketball. Forget about where you were picked. Forget about lottery. Forget about this guy makes $25 million. This guy makes $3 million. We are seeing a changing of the guard because the Warriors are playing good basketball right now. What do I say about the pudding? The proof is in it. The proof is in the fact that Quinten Post should be getting 30 minutes a night. Does anyone disagree with that statement? Like, he's good. Defensively, offensively, you don't have any other bigs. Start giving him some minutes. Trace Jackson-Davis got 22 minutes in the game today, which is fine in a game like this, but I'm starting to think you just give Post 30-plus minutes a game. He's a starter. Give him starters minutes. Give him starters minutes. And really, the Warriors started off 11-2. Bulls called a timeout, and this one was never really close until Chicago went on a late run to open up the fourth quarter, I believe it was, and cut it down to 11 is as close as they got, I believe. And then Jimmy Butler just took over and went off. But I want to get into some player spotlights on today's program, specifically starting with Pat Spencer. Dog. He's a dog. We've talked about this. Officer Pat, team first guy, did not take bad shots, did have a few, maybe not bad turnovers, but turnovers that you could tell were just because he can be a little bit overmatched out there. He's a smaller point guard. If he gets too deep into the teeth of the defense and picks up his dribble, does not have anywhere to go, that's an opportunity for someone to take it away from Pat, to block him, to steal it from him. Whatever. He does best with that little float game, creating open looks for other teammates by driving and kicking. And then just, late in the shot clock, whatever, hanging out around the perimeter and knocking down some open threes, which he's done the last few games, but did not do that today. In fact, Pat Spencer did not shoot a single three. This man is an old school type of basketball player. There was one play, a couple that I want to highlight. One where he had a little turnaround on the block, a little Kevin Durant action from 6'2" Pat Spencer. I was like, okay, Pat, I see you. Then another play. Another play was when he pump fakes on a three, catches it left wing, pump fakes, drives and kicks to Quinten Post. So he drives, kicks it over his right shoulder to Quinten Post, who's now on the left wing. Post misses a three, and guess who is standing in the middle of the paint to grab the rebound and lay it up and in? The smallest guy on the floor, Pat Spencer. Pat Spencer is who I thought Brandin Podziemski was. I am sorry, Pat Spencer. I was unfamiliar with your game. And clearly Kolsky was. We'll see if he ever comes on the program again. I told him he needs to write a 3-page sonnet apology to Pat Spencer if he wants to be on the program ever again. And he'll say, but we just need him to continue this, because this is the issue with Warriors basketball over the last couple of seasons. There's no consistency. Like right now we can say, go with Pat, go with Gee, go with Post, go with the second round and the guys we thought were G League players. And let's stop with the Moody. Let's stop with the Kuminga getting all these minutes. But that'll change. It always does. That's what's so frustrating. But maybe, just maybe, we're starting to see a changing of the guard where it doesn't matter where you're picked. It doesn't matter your measurables. It doesn't matter, quote unquote, talent. It matters how the team looks when you're on the floor. And They looked pretty damn good against Cleveland, and they added in Jimmy Butler, who looked awesome in this game, and the team just looked outstanding. I mean, they drilled the Bulls at United Center. It was never even close. Big win for the Warriors. And not a great day for the people that say Steve Kerr can't develop any talent, or not even Steve Kerr, just the Warriors in general cannot develop any talent, because everyone always points to Moody and Kuminga, right? No, they can't develop talent. And Wiseman, they can't develop talent. Guess what? Quinten Post, take a look at him. He was a dude that started off last year in the G League. He's a second-round draft pick. They are developing that talent. Quinten Post is legitimately good. He's a good big. Metrics-wise, he's one of the better defensive bigs in the league right now. Will that stay that way? Maybe not. You can cook him a little bit on the perimeter. But, man, with no Draymond Green out there, the defense did not struggle at all today. They turned over the Bulls 15 times. Chicago shot at 36% from the floor, 11 of 40 from deep. Ugly basketball. Not a great night to be a Chicago Bulls fan, to say the least. 123-91, the final score. All right, I want to get into a couple things heading into the second block. Jimmy Butler in his fourth quarter. We'll get into that. Why Brandin Podziemski's role has changed, it seems, and why it will benefit the Warriors. He's not that dude. However, he can be a dude, and he showed today why, 29 minutes of pods? That's still a lot. But 13 shots, 5 of 9, working off the ball. Pat Spencer is your backup point guard, it would seem. Podziemski off the ball is the best Brandin Podziemski you're going to get. 21, 8, and 7 for pods in the game today. All right, so we're getting into a deeper look at the Warriors' 32-point win, then a look around the association, as we had some good ones tonight, including the Lakers and the Sixers playing a great one in Philadelphia. We'll recap that. We'll take a look around the league and who the Warriors have. Coming up is Golden State salvages this tough road trip without Steph Curry. They go 2-1 to get back above 500 at 13-12 on the season. This is Locked On Warriors. We will continue right after this.
Destroy Jimmy and Domino's. I know Jimmy drinks great wine.
All right, today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Robinhood. Let me tell you a little bit about our sponsor, that is Robinhood. Once I throw up this overlay, there we go. Nobody knows your money goals better than you. Robinhood puts you in control of your money with tools that work as hard as you do, locking in on every opening, beating your PR, beating it again, channeling that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto all on one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood Legends advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself, expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's Robinhood.com/yourmoney. It's your money. It is your move. Today's episode is also brought to you by our favorite jeanswear. That is Doer in San Francisco. They got a physical store. It's 567 Hayes Street in Hayes Valley. Reasons you should check them out. A, I told you so. You're a listener of this program. The best way to support Locked On Warriors is to check out Doer. Mention the code Locked On SF in store for 15% off your order. Or if you don't live in the Bay Area, you live in a part of the Bay Area that's not convenient to get to San Francisco, you're over the Bay Bridge, go to shopdoer.com/LockedOnSF. Use that code LockedOnSF for 15% off your first order. They got Cool Max in their jeans. It means it regulates your temperature. You're going to be comfy in hot weather and cold weather. They're stretchy. They feel good while also looking good, and they're versatile. It's like freaking Andre Iguodala type jeans. You know, you could play them on the block. You could play them on the perimeter. AKA, you can wear them to a nice fancy steakhouse. You can wear them to church. You can wear them to the beach. You can wear them on a date. You can wear them to the movies. You can wear them to the gym. That is Doer. Locked On SF in store is the code for 15% off your first order at 567 Hayes Street in Hayes Valley, or shopdoer.com/LockedOnSF. All right, let's get back to the program.
Forget that. We champs. Why are you starting with that question? We got 4 championships.
All righty. So let's finish up with this game, and then we'll talk about the Warriors changing of the guard a little bit more. So we mentioned Spencer and Post, that pick and roll two-man action. It's beautiful stuff. It's fun to watch. Speaking of beautiful, DeAnthony Melton, he's just smooth out there. Doesn't try to do too much. Steve Kerr didn't try to give him too big a role today off the bench. But what Melton did was knock down some threes, 3 of 7, played within the flow of the offense, had some steals defensively, played hard. And you can see why DeAnthony Melton is going to steal some minutes from someone like Gary Payton, who only played 4 minutes in the game today. And all of a sudden, we're starting to see a rotation that makes a little more sense for the Warriors. It necessarily doesn't make sense, when you look at some of the talent that is getting DNP'd. But hey, hunger beats talent. Production beats potential. That's all I got to say. Pods, again, he's good when he doesn't try to do too much. I like him in that off-ball role. I think you keep him there. The big storyline from the game today that I'm glad I went 16 minutes without mentioning, because the old host of this program, with all due respect, first 30 seconds, it would have been brought up, and it would have been the entirety of the show. And it's just another wrinkle to a strange saga, but it's the aftermath of the team actually winning a game and looking good against the Bulls by 32 points. And that is Jonathan Kuminga has been benched again. It appears his time in Golden State is coming to a close. And this is why a couple of things I said over the summer, I'll pat myself on the back, have proven to be true. A, he was smart not taking the qualifying offer. He's got an extra $12 million in his pocket. Trust me, you're getting DNPs right now. If it continues that way, you're at least glad you got the extra $12 million. But money doesn't matter. He should be in control of his career. That's what a lot of you said. And the issue with that take is, if he would have signed the qualifying offer, he'd still be in the same position, getting the DNPs without that money in his pocket. So first of all, that's at least good for the young man getting the money that, if you're not playing, you don't necessarily deserve it, but getting that money, first of all, good for him. Second of all, good for the Warriors not caving and giving him that player option. Because guess what happens if you give him that player option? He may be back next year. You have the team option now. If you're not able to trade him, and maybe Sacramento and Phoenix have something a little more enticing, I wouldn't take slops, honestly. I would just cut ties over the summer and say, we lost you for nothing. I'm not taking on contracts that don't make sense. Royce O'Neal, whatever, players that aren't helping. If you can't get someone for them, this is exactly why, in my opinion, you did not cave to that player option. Because now you can 1,000% cut ties if it has not worked out. The big three has turned into the benched three. And granted, when I say big three, I said a lot of this season and leading into this year, and even in the playoffs last year, like, this team's ceiling is determined on a couple of things. A, Butler, Curry, Draymond, the old guy's health. B, Podziemski, Moody, and Kuminga taking internal leaps and being reliable, consistent NBA players that can help you win in the postseason. I thought this team would go as far as they took you. And now you're looking at two guys in Moody and Kuminga that have not gotten, Moody more than Kuminga. 19 minutes, 11 points in the game today. He was a +1, which is actually not that great considering how much the Warriors were able to win by. Went 3 of 6, 3 of 5. Had 4 rebounds, didn't play a bad game. Moses Moody hasn't necessarily had a bad season. He just hasn't taken those steps forward consistently. For a quarter, he had 7 threes against New Orleans. He looked like prime. Prime Reggie Miller, we'll say. Prime Steph Curry. Just go to your backyard. 7 threes in a quarter. But there have just been too many games where, he hasn't had it. And some of it can be due to just the lack of playing time. Like 19 minutes, don't really get a chance to get into the groove. But I always thought that Moses Moody was one of the dudes that Steve Kerr really trusted. Maybe it looks a little differently when Curry and Draymond's back and rotation shift, but he's clearly right now in the same level as like Agui Santos and Will Richard and those guys in terms of minutes. He's not near the top of your priorities and who needs to play. Out of those three that I just mentioned, clearly Steve Kerr thinks it's Podziemski, even after some poor play a couple weeks before this last week, where he's picked it up a little bit. But Jonathan Kuminga is the big one out of all of them. I mean, he got benched in a game where the Warriors were missing Al Horford, Seth Curry, Draymond Green, and Steph. They ran 11 dudes, and he was not one of those dudes. It's year 5. There's 4 players out with injury, and he cannot get a single minute. Of course, Steve Kerr is going to be asked about that at postgame. And of course, his answer was in terms of the internal discussions, because we saw on video evidence that Kuminga was pissed after the game against Cleveland, during the game against Cleveland. Draymond had to talk to him. May have been Jimmy. Couldn't tell. Player had the hood up, but was talking to him. Hey, keep your chin up. You know, this happens during a long season. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen to someone that clearly wants to have a big role on a team when 4 dudes are out. DNPs do not happen. This is not normal. It's over. I mean, truly, it's over. But Steve Kerr said, we don't talk about the internal things. That's a private matter. He did answer this.
Just got to keep going, just like everybody else who's in this position. And it happens to everybody, you know, pretty much, other than the stars. You know, guys come in and out of the rotation depending on, you know, who's available, how the team's playing. Really wanted to get Guy. I think the way Guy has played the last couple of nights, after what he did down the stretch last year, you see the impact he makes with his energy. And then obviously getting Meld back. You know, we've got and Pat's emergence. I mean, we've got a lot of mouths to feed, and tonight this is what we decided to do.
Steve, to follow up on that, why was it tonight? Why was it this game that you decided to make the move?
Just because of the way our team looks, and you know, Jimmy came back tonight. JK started last night. They play the same position. I like the group. The last couple of nights, the bench group, Pat, Melt, and Philly. We got a lot of bodies, and so with Jimmy coming back tonight, it made sense to play the other guys because they complement him really well.
Got to get to one of the comments that popped in. You're the same dude who was praising Kuminga at the beginning, shaking my head. Yeah, I like to think I tell the truth. He was playing awesome basketball at the beginning of the year. He was getting minutes, and whether I agree with it or not, what my stance is doesn't matter. All that matters is what the head coach believes in getting DNPs at this point in the season with dudes out. Like, I don't know how you can have any other take than, like, they're going to trade this guy, or he's just going to rot on the bench and they're not going to pick up that player option. Like, maybe, just maybe, I'm completely wrong and they salvage this relationship and Kuminga's a part of the future. But, dude, it has not been good. Hasn't been good. And for his sake, personally, for a member of the rookie card patch autograph club, I want him to be good. Be good somewhere else. And this is setting up to me, and maybe not, maybe Moody is a 19-minute per guy, 19-minute per game guy for the remainder of the year. And this is just kind of who he is. You know, he's your 8th, he's your 9th guy. Sometimes you'll find him in the starting lineup. He can use that wingspan to guard some players on the perimeter. But when you got guys like Guy and Melton and Pat and Post and all these new names coming into the equation, what it allows you to do is make that consolidation trade. And I got nothing but respect for Moses Moody. I think the organization loves him. I know that for a fact. Back when I was at KPIX, they said that straight up, that, you know, he's a winner, that he's got a great mentality. Moody, there have been very little issues with Moody on or off the floor. I mean, 0 issues. He's been a consummate professional. With that being said, he makes $13 million per year. That's a tradable contract. He's viewed as a pretty decent asset. Jonathan Kuminga, per these scouts, per these league sources, he's one of the most valuable assets in the entire NBA. If that's the case, package those two together, that's $37 million you're looking at potentially bringing in. Players in that range. It's funny that all the players in that range kind of have like, you got to take a little step back. It's like Zion, it's Ja Morant, it's Michael Porter Jr., LaMelo Ball's in that range. Now, in a perfect world, I'm looking to somehow get to 50 million and bring in 28 million from Trey Murphy and 22 million from Herb Jones. A little 3-and-D action. That's what I'd be looking to do, but I don't know if New Orleans would be looking to do that. And again, like maybe Sacramento, maybe Phoenix, these teams that have seen enough on tape. Kuminga is someone that has gone for 30 multiple times in postseason games. It just doesn't make sense. Maybe Kolsky's analogy is right. His mind's truly in a pretzel. I do not know, but you can't say that Steve Kerr hasn't given this dude an opportunity. He started the last game. He was terrible. He was 1 of 10. He was clanking threes. He was missing 5-foot turnarounds. He wasn't moving the ball. He was grabbing rebounds. We'll give him that. But he wasn't good. And so I don't really get what the argument is here. He's been good throughout his career at times, but it's the consistency factor, and it's calling a spade a spade. And if the head coach isn't going to play the dude, then it's over, in my opinion. So I don't know what the market's going to be like, but I would have to think that January 15th is a date we are counting down to on some form of a move. Let's see. Let's test the market. Let's see what happens. Jimmy Butler, man, he was so good in this game today. He had the Inspector Gadget arms going, deflecting everything. The Bulls had pulled it to within 11 late, and Jimmy Butler first goes with a strong ISO. Sometimes, have you noticed that he's so strong and separates and clears so much space near the rim that he's almost like confused at how much space he has? He's wide open for a little 3-footer. And it almost takes him a second to realize how open he is before he finally puts it up. Sometimes he actually passes it. You're like, what's going on here? But he's so strong. But he had that strong ISO. Then he knocks down a 3. Then he goes heat check and knocks down another 3. I want to look up the statistics real quick, real time on Jimmy Butler's 3-point shot, because it's been good, man. 43% on the season. And that was before today's game where he upped that with a 3-for-3 performance from deep, I believe it was. Let's fact check that. 2 of 2 from 3. So he's upwards of 45% on the season from 3-point range. Keep shooting them, Jimmy. Keep shooting them. All right, when we return, let's take a look at the Warriors' next game. When will Steph Curry return? And a look around the association tonight and where things stand. That's how we are rounding out the show today on Locked On Warriors. The Bulls take a beat down from the Dubs. Final score, 123 for the good guys, 91 for Chicago.
Who can stop Steph Curry?
Hopefully we'll never find out.
Today's episode is brought to you by America's #1 sports book. That is FanDuel. There's no better time to get in on the action than with FanDuel right now, because FanDuel not only is giving away free plays to customers, but it's also the perfect time of the year to get in, because you got NFL Sundays, you've got NBA. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time with FanDuel. You could place bets as the action unfolds. It's called a live bet. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. If a receiver starts to get hot, a defense tightens up, momentum flips after a turnover, hit that live line, see what your odds are. And if they're not in line with what you were thinking, then hit those odds. Hit those odds. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heats up. You could bet next touchdowns, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com. Place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you.
And buddy, stop trying to dribble the ball.
All right, so next up for the Golden State Warriors is back to chase Minnesota. First time we will see the Timberwolves this season for a short-lived homestand. One game at home, but at least you're staying on your side of the country. It's Minnesota on Friday. So you got some time here. And this is the when you're not in NBA Cup contention, you get some rest. It's good and it's bad. This Minnesota game, I believe, was added late. It was one of those late edition games due to the Warriors not being in the cup. It's a game on NBA TV. It's at 5 o'clock Pacific time, or rather 7 o'clock Pacific time. And it's the first we'll see of Anthony Edwards and Rudy Gobert and Julius Randle and the team that sent you packing in the playoffs last season. Then it's at Portland. Blazers are scrappy. They've already beaten you twice. They give you fits. That's a tough 2-game stretch right there. Then it's Phoenix. I don't know what to think about the Phoenix Suns this season. They're one of the strangest teams in the NBA, in my opinion. I think the Blazers are better than the Suns. The record would say otherwise. Phoenix is 13-10 right now. They're winning. They have some random dudes stepping up. Like Colin Gillespie's having a really good year. He's their Pat Spencer. He's averaging 13 points and 5 assists per game. Dylan Brooks has been awesome. I'm coming at Kolsky again. When he's not on the show, I'm coming at him. He said Dylan Brooks is not a serious basketball player, and that's someone that doesn't help you win. For a guy that doesn't help you win, he sure seems to be on a lot of teams that win. I would debate that Dylan Brooks isn't a really, really good basketball player. Like say what you want about him. Is he a tool? On the floor, sure. I've actually seen some TikToks of him, though. Man on the street. Actually seems like a pretty decent guy. It's kind of a wild phenomenon how someone can seem like such a jerk on the floor, but out in the wild, it's like, oh, he's a sweetheart. Dylan Brooks. He gives pies to nursing homes. Like, what a sweet guy. Anyways, enough about that. Devin Booker's averaging 25. Grayson Allen's averaging 17. You could have had Grayson Allen potentially instead of Jonathan Kuminga. He's averaging 17 points. Jalen Green still out with the hamstring. He's been a nothing burger this season. And then they got the bigs and Mark Williams. And Jamari Bouye is actually having a good year for them. The former San Francisco Don that led USF and Todd Golden to the first tournament for them like this millennium, I believe it was. He's actually getting some run. He's played in 7 games and is averaging 7 points per game. So we will see if Bouye gets a little return trip back to the Bay Area where he starred in college. So that's the next 4-game stretch coming up for the Warriors. It's Minnesota, it's Portland, it's Phoenix, and then Orlando comes to town. And then Christmas Day, Klay Thompson, Anthony Davis, Cooper Flagg, and the Dallas Mavericks come into town for a little ABC, ESPN Christmas Day action against the Mavs. And things are back on track for the Warriors. It looks a little better and less bleak than it did like a week ago. Is it just the addition of Pat Spencer and Guy Santos and Quinten Post getting more minutes and changing of the guard? I don't know. But this is a team that's always, even the last 2 years, it's always benefited from vibes, right? Remember how good the start was last season? Vibes. DeAnthony Melton gets hurt. Vibes go. Whew. You trade for Jimmy Butler. Vibes. Steph Curry gets hurt in the postseason. Vibes down. This year to start, great. Injuries start racking up. Kuminga's role becomes a little more dicey. You lose a game to Indiana. Vibes go down. Play the hot hand and keep the good times rolling. That's all I got to say. The Thunder have kept the good times rolling. They beat the Jazz. Jalen Williams had another big night. They were really good without Jalen Williams, almost perfect, and they are perfect with him. They improved to 23-1 on the season. Don't forget the Warriors had a chance in the final 4 minutes without Steph Curry to take down that Thunder team. Now, they are far and away, OKC is far and away the team to beat this season. But we'll see. A lot of season left to be played. A lot of season. Knicks beat the Magics. 106-100. They beat Orlando. Jalen Brunson had 30 and 9. Celtics beat the Raptors. Boston's good. Who would have thunk it with the injury to Jason Tatum that they'd be good? They unload Drew Holiday. They unload Kristaps Porzingis. Kind of looked like this was going to be a hodgepodge roster that got him to the next year. And now all of a sudden you're wondering, all right, how's Tatum moving on that wheel? They get into the postseason. Will we see Jason Tatum? Jaylen Brown's playing at a probably third team All-NBA level. You could argue that he's second team All-NBA if you want to swipe him out for Reeves or Donovan Mitchell or Brunson or one of those guys that's right there in that second team, right there in that hierarchy. But he's been awesome, Jaylen Brown has. And the Celtics, who some people pointed to, like Devin White is a potential trade. Like, they're not trading Devin White. Come on now. They're rolling. They're in a good spot. 121-113. They beat the Raptors, who sputtered a little as of late. They fall into 15-10. The Nuggets take down the Hornets 28-9-11 for Nikola Jokic in the game. Bridges for Charlotte. And I know for personal reasons, a lot of people would say absolutely not, but he's having a really good year, averaging 20 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. Don't know exactly what he makes, but if Charlotte were to be looking at the Knipples of the world and the Kalkbrenners and the Sion James and Brandon Miller and kind of turning the guard, could he be on the table and would he be a help to the Warriors? I'm just spitballing right now, throwing out some names. Grizzlies destroy the Blazers 119-96. And my take about the Blazers winning over 50 games this season is, I said 46, but that's not going to happen. They're not winning. Still don't have Scoot Henderson back, so we can put an asterisk next to that one. That's how that works, right? 119-96 Grizzlies win. Aldama had 22-7 to lead the way. Avdia had 17-7-7 for the Blazers. And then the Lakers take down the Sixers. Doncic, a triple-double, 31, 15, and 11. Maxey had 25, 7, and 9 in the game. LeBron James had his best game of the young season, 29 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. So the 40-year-old still has it somehow, some way. Hachimura had 17. DeAndre Ayton continues his really good season. I said early that DeAndre Ayton sucked, and I suck because DeAndre Ayton's been great, man. Shout out to him. 14, 7 of 7, 12 rebounds. Again, I'm coming at Matt. If you're listening, you got to respond to some of this. I set him up on a tee last time and said, please redact the statement that we said early in the year that you would rather have Al Horford than DeAndre Ayton. And he wouldn't do it. I was like, dude, Ayton's what, 14 and 12 today. He's averaging 15, 8, shooting 70% from the floor, and Al Horford plays like once a month. You can't be serious, but hey, stubborn. I respect that. Reeves struggled in the game today. He was 3 of 16, just 11 points. One of his worst games of the season. For Philadelphia, 28 for Maxey, 15 for Edgecombe, and 16 points for Joel Embiid. That team is pretty much fully healthy at this point. The Sixers are, and they're 13-10 on the season. All right, this is Locked On Warriors. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We will talk to you on Tuesday. Peace, everyone. I said Tuesday. We'll talk to you Monday. Week is young. Have a great week, everyone. A great night, great morning, whenever you're listening, wherever you're listening. Peace.